Greetings, everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh, hey.
No, it's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What is up, you ducks? It is Week 15 recap, reactions, and because it is Week 15, Chris, a look ahead to 4 more games because that's what Week 15 is this time of year. All in football live on BetsTV. You can watch on BetsTV.com or the YouTube channel or both, or the thumbs ups and subscribe and rate and review and all that good stuff. I was about to say nonsense, but it's good stuff. So please do that.
It's good stuff. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely good stuff. FTN, 20% off. Hello to Canada. Welcome everybody up there. TheAthletic.com/BetsTV, first free month. And, oh, you know what, Chris? No, wait. Maybe there'll be a part where I can say that later. I wasn't actually not had anything to do with Spider-Man, which is like the best Marvel movie in the history forever, just so you know. And
I hear that. I hear great things.
Banned from the show. It is. I will not give any spoilers, but it is definitively.
Wow, the best. Wow, really the best of all. Wow.
Of all the Marvel movies. So
Interesting.
before sidebar on that, I already had my rankings on the site. No, Endgame was not number 1 for me. There's a lot of people, including Nando, who thinks Infinity War was better than Endgame. I'm not even in that debate because that wasn't even my number 1 movie of all Marvel movies. But if I did a ranking as of today, Spider-Man No Way Home would be number 1. It's probably one of my top 10 all-time favorite movies. Like, I legitimately sat from beginning to end, not one bad beat, like as in like a beat moment of the movie, smiled the entire time. Highly recommend to everybody to go see it. It is wonderful. But what is not wonderful is Week 15. It's been, if anybody is a friend of Friends, they're a fan of Friends, I should have said, like Chris is. All that was running through my head in last night's game, to cap off the Sunday at least, was the episode where Chandler walks in as Joey locked himself in the cabinet because he was trying to make a sale, and Chandler goes, "What the hell happened?" Like, what happened in last night's game? That was beyond miserable. We lost Chris Godwin. We lost Mike Evans. We saw what the floor and the risk of Taysom Hill is. We've talked about it multiple weeks and said, if he doesn't run for 2, if he doesn't throw for 2, if he doesn't run and throw for 1 and 1, everything went sideways. Kamara didn't get you points. Fournette barely got you a good game. Ronald Jones outrushed him. Gronkowski had, 10, 12 targets and caught 2? It was just beyond a miserable game, Chris. Is this the Bucs and the Saints, division rivals? They know how to play Brady. There's some good. I mean, what was it, 38-3 last time? So like it can go any way. Like, put it this way: is there anything we can glean from this game besides the fact that Bruce Arians now just gave Antonio Brown a pass to come back because they need him?
Yeah, they need him all right. I don't know. I think the only takeaway here for me is that, I mean, if you're the Bucs, you don't want to see the Saints in the playoffs. I know you played them last year and you beat them in the playoffs, but this seems to be a secondary and a head coach. I mean, Sean Payton wasn't even around, but a head coach that seems to have his way, really, with Tom Brady. In the Sunday morning betting show, Elliot Chris had the Saints to cover. They covered easily, and we talked about the turnovers. I mean, there's 7 interceptions in Brady's last 3 games against the Saints, and then, yesterday he looked very average against them. That's putting it lightly. I mean, 26 for 48. 214, 0 TDs, an interception. He had the fumble, a QBR of 57.1. Heading into Week 15, Jake, I thought he was the MVP. I thought maybe he was just the clear-cut runner, that there was still a conversation, but that he was the clear-cut MVP. And now this morning,
have they updated the line, Jake?
I don't know. I'm going to take a look here on the fly. I'm a little curious, man. Like, is this Jonathan Taylor's?
I was going to say Aaron Rodgers certainly pushed the Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. It's always going to go to a quarterback. I mean, MVP.
But is the media, sorry to cut you off, is the media really going to hold a grudge here with Rodgers? Like, that's possible with the toe thing and then lying to him about the COVID stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I think that the media could hold a grudge with him when it comes to Aaron Rodgers.
You think? How about the stupid MLB Hall of Famers that are still holding grudges? How about that schmuck Gabajajuk, whatever his name is? Like, the guy's left his ballot empty. Get that. You're going to get me started on something else that has nothing to do with fantasy. Nothing to do with the show.
So Rodgers is the favorite as this morning, plus 125.
Let's see,
Brady's
there you
plus
go.
175. Taylor is
What is
10-1.
Jonathan?
It hasn't happened since AP, but man, if
That's
these
what I'm saying.
quarterbacks continue to, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, and then it's just like, you can make a case for any 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Maybe it is Taylor's award to lose.
Well, that's where I would say to what you just said. So most any given year, be like, there's no way. Mostly because the Packers have already clinched. The Buccaneers are a game away from clinching. They actually could have clinched last night. A playoff spot, not the division. I think the Packers actually clinched their division. But that being said, they're in the playoffs. The Colts are still fighting. That's why I almost said the Titans, because the Titans are still a half game up on them. No, a full game up on them. So, it's like if they weren't, the only open door I think that you have here is what you just said, is if there's a grudge. But I'm not certainly laying money on a running back just because it's never happened. And well, not never, but it hasn't happened.
It's been a
since
while.
AP. It has to be absurd. I mean, you really have to have basically your point is now that they've already clinched, Green Bay would pretty much have to lose out, and Rodgers would have to be terrible, and Tom Brady would have to have more games, multiple games like yesterday. So Antonio Brown's coming back, but he's not back this week. Chris Godwin sounds like he's out 4 weeks, multiple. We don't have news on Mike Evans yet, but his during the game sounded worse than Chris Godwin's. Mike Evans was the one that threw his gloves into the stands, right? Or was it Chris Godwin? I forget. It was one of the two of them. I thought it was Evans.
All I know is that Brady threw that
the tablet,
through that iPad, the tablet. That's all I really saw from checking last night.
Did you see the tweet where somebody had the video and they said when you ask for a MacBook for Christmas or an iPad or something like that, and they give you a Surface, and he threw it.
I think it was our boy Jordan Richards, who you can catch here on BetsTV with Ray too. Yeah, I think I saw that tweet surface this morning. It was fantastic. Yeah, I mean that's you don't see Brady freak out like that often. I mean things have gone his way for years. So when there's a little bit of adversity in his life, he tends to lose his mind, and you gotta chuckle with that. I'm sure he had a good laugh about it this morning too. But man, you're right. Across the board, this was just an absolute stinker of a game. I mean, Hill 11
let me
for
get
30.
to the main question. I think I've tried to ask the question like 3 times. So anyway, is now that Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown's not back yet, what's your interest level in Tyler Johnson? Tomorrow is the waiver show, but what is your interest level? Because the waiver show is the waiver show, but I'm asking you this, Chris, because if you somehow advanced in your playoffs, or maybe, again, I say this all the time, maybe you're in a 10-team league, only 4 teams make it, so you were still playing this week. What is your interest level if it's Tyler Johnson and nobody else, Tyler Johnson and one of Evans, if Godwin, this actually sounds like it probably would be Evans, would you roll out Tyler Johnson in your playoffs? That's really, because that's what matters at the waivers tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. I'm just trying to think of my teams that advanced to the semis here, and I probably wouldn't roll him out over some of the other wide receivers. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you could be in a situation where, I don't know, you just got by and you're dealing with some injuries and some matchups here. The thing is with luckily,
they're at the Panthers,
right?
Not a good matchup.
Not a great matchup, but also, a team that's checked out, right? We can say that. They had another loss yesterday to the Bills, and they're done. They're done now.
I don't know if everybody's checked out. Like, you watch the game, like, there's people that haven't checked out on the team. You got to be, like, players
The Panthers are
trash.
trash.
Amir Abdullah definitely hasn't checked out.
He's playing for a job. Yeah. I don't know. The defense is okay. I tell you what, Cam Newton's awful and can't move the football, so Brady's going to be in some decent spots. I mean, the one thing with Brady, not just the opportunity that you bring up, Jake, with Johnson here, is look at Brady in the passing attempts. 46, 34 against the Colts, but 51 against Atlanta, a Falcons team that, they were up early and they just kind of cruised the whole game. 46 against the Bills and 48 last night. So you know that Brady's going to throw the ball 40-plus times. So who's he throwing to? Right? Maybe a couple out of the backfield. Maybe Evans plays. Gronk.
Well,
Johnson's
according
probably
to
in line for 6 or 7 targets.
At New England Sports Network, according to the guy yesterday, tweeted that about Mac Jones, his highest 5 pass attempts games, they all lost. I was like, well, yes, usually when you're behind, you are passing more. So I guess Tom Brady is the reason they're losing, right? That's this. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Is that what we're doing here? That's what's or is it greater?
I think
than?
so.
I forget. Math's been so long ago. I don't care anymore. I'm so glad I don't have to do school. Let's talk about Carolina because the offense does stink. But people need running backs, Chris, and I think the one takeaway from this is something, I don't know if you and I talked about it, or I did it with Jeff, or I did it on the Athletic show, or I don't even know, because there's 18 billion shows that I do, but I kept saying, as soon as the injury happened, again to Christian McCaffrey, is Abdullah is if you see a situation where they should be behind. And that's what happened yesterday. Was I expecting the passing touchdown to be as great as it was and as big as it was? No, but yesterday was an Abdullah game. So Panthers against Bucks, in a rebound spot for Brady, I would go Abdullah again. Would you not?
Yeah, over Chuba for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Chuba needs to fall into the end zone.
You nailed it.
Okay,
he does. Yeah.
I didn't want to spend too much time on Carolina. You already kind of covered it. Let's just move on. Cam Newton doesn't have a job next year, right? As the sidebar, he's not.
I mean, if he wants to check out the CFL, I'm sure he could try to make things work over there.
XFL's coming back. Although I think it's the year after next. Is it 2022 or 23? I don't know. So on Buffalo side, there are actually legitimately two questions to come out of this. I was on board of starting. Barkley just pushed my foot. What are you doing? Gabriel Davis. I was on board with Gabriel Davis. I was not expecting Gabriel Davis to lead with 2 touchdowns, but Emmanuel Sanders, he had already kind of surpassed him on the roster. So Stephon Diggs, kind of quiet, 30-something yards and a touchdown. But Gabriel Davis, your interest level, is he basically supplant early season Sanders as a wide receiver 3?
I love Gabriel Davis. I'm a fan. Unfortunately, I drafted him in way too many spots where I cut my ties weeks and weeks ago, but he's been one of the biggest dynasty buys for me heading into the season. Jake, we did a bold prediction. I don't know if it was on this show or if you jumped on mine, but I had Gabriel Davis. My bold prediction was that this guy would finish as a top 20 wide receiver. Oh, real bold. Whoops. But he wasn't drafted. And towards, maybe not. Maybe he'll finish strong here. Last season he finished strong. Last season he
start
finished
placing
strong.
Some Vegas bets.
You should. 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 5 touchdowns in his last 8 games last season. He was starting to trend up. And then, Sanders, obviously you mentioned Sanders, and now he's got the foot injury. Long term, I love him. Next year, we got to like this guy. He is limited. He's the big play guy in this offense. So another offense that loves to throw the football.
He's 49 right now, so he has
overall
to jump
49.
20.
It's possible.
So he has to, no. I was about to say he'd have to jump 29 spots. He has 97. 20th has 161.
I tell you what, he had a better day yesterday than Julio Jones's full season. We could say that. Davis, you're right. He's very limited in his route running.
23 times 6. 69 plus 97.
What does he need? You trying to do the math? What does he need to jump up?
Even if he scored what he did yesterday, the last 3 games of the season, and everybody else held steady and didn't do a single thing the rest of the year, he would only finish wide receiver 23. So it's not happening.
So I won't get my bold prediction. I mean, I won't get any of my bold predictions, to be honest with you. I think the only one I'll get is maybe Kenny Golladay. But, yeah, but living right now in the moment, don't we have to like him with the Bills, the way that they play and we
were liking him more. Well, so let me turn that question to you, Chris, because we're on board and we're loving Gabriel Davis. So let's live in the moment. Do we have to like Devin Singletary now?
I don't think so. Do we?
I think so. 23 of 27 rushing attempts for the team. Oh, by the way, 3 of those were Josh Allen, so 23 of 25 rushing attempts. Oh, by the way, one of those was Isaiah McKenzie. So 23 of the 24, and I did that on purpose, 23 of the 24 running back rushing attempts in a game where Zach Moss was inactive again. And it's a game where they were a lead team. This is the Zach Moss game versus the Matt Breida game, which heading into this, it had been Matt Breida is active when it looks like they might have to pass. Zach Moss is active when they have to run, like the snow game. But again, look at Matt Breida. 1 carry, nothing in the passing game. I think we have to. Devin Singletary's been the guy for the past couple of weeks. It hasn't been to this level. But I think the report was actually from The Athletic. I think it was. Let's see. Yeah, Joe Biscaglia, right? That's how you say it?
Buddy, you work there, not me.
Buddy. I said it because he's Bills, and he's the closest thing that you have to a home team. So anyway.
It's so true.
That they trust him as a lead back. That was the quote.
Yeah, you're right. This is I kind of just shut it down because I've seen so much of it over the years. But you're right. I mean, Moss is you're spot on. Moss was active the one game where they thought, the weather was bad and they were going to run the football, and they really didn't run the football. That was against the Pats. Now they have the Pats again. It's not a great matchup, but I mean, if he's going to play 75% of the snaps, he's at least going to be the back on the field where there's a couple checkdowns and maybe they run it inside the red zone. Absolutely. I just, you know more than anyone, your viewers, everyone paying attention here. You're going to roll this guy out as your RB2. There is it could not work out. We'll just say that. But,
of course.
I mean, if he gets you double-digit fantasy points, that's awesome. That's what he's been doing.
I'm not your buddy, guy. Hey, let's do it for the second time this show, Chris. What the hell happened? Arizona Cardinals.
Oh,
Holy, can we double down on what the hell happened? Maybe a third time there. What the effing hell happened?
I don't know either.
Infinity duck poop to nth degree. Like what? Oh my God. So by the way, I feel for anybody that made Survivor this far and then took Arizona.
Oh,
and
no.
could you imagine getting this far and then losing that? Because this is the second time Detroit has ruined Survivor. Actually, technically third if you went for that tie game because you don't advance with the tie. But for all intents and purposes, that was not a great call game anyway. But the Minnesota one, it's kind of okay. Minnesota, division rivals, maybe it's not the best call. This was a lot of people who were still in it picked Arizona. I think they were at 70% or something like that for the teams that were left, or people that had saved Arizona somehow, looking forward for the Detroit schedule. So let me ask you on the Detroit. Let's start good. Would you rather... Hey, live in the moment, Chris. Would you rather live with Craig Reynolds? I can't even, all these names this morning. Craig Reynolds or Devin Singletary?
Good one. I need to look at the matchup. Like, let's see. Who do they play? This is 2 straight weeks. Okay, I already know that these Singletary's up against the Saints. I'll go with Reynolds. Let me go with Reynolds, man. This guy's getting carries, opportunities. He looked great yesterday. I don't know who they play, but I know that Singletary gets the Pats.
That's why I don't want you to look at it, because they get the Detroit gets the Falcons. That's why I wanted your evaluation, Chris, because I wanted this. Who do you trust more, is Craig Reynolds or Devin Singletary? Just as a backfield, actually having a piece of this backfield, because Jamal Williams should be back next week. His situation was COVID; he didn't get cleared for this game, so that's really what comes down to. That
puts a stinker on it. That is it over?
But
it's a 2-week thing.
Yeah.
At this moment, right now. Craig Reynolds.
Well, because this will tie into the next game here, so we'll talk about it. And for the Azar asking, Leonard Fournette didn't get hurt in that game, right?
I don't think so. I think it was just because
he just asked for Reynolds versus Ronald Jones, and I would take Reynolds because Ronald Jones is a great high-end backup if something did happen to Leonard Fournette. But,
I grabbed Jones heading into the weekend just in case anything. He did say a hamstring, so we'll keep an eye on it. I didn't see anything. I know that they weren't getting anything done on the ground. I mean, the Saints are a really good rush defense, so it wasn't overly surprising to see Fournette struggle on the ground. But yeah, if he misses some time, then I suppose Ronald Jones would fall into that workload. Didn't you go and you grab him? Absolutely. But yeah, this is what you talked about for years and years and years. That next man up, have that handcuff. We know that he hasn't done anything all year, but if he was to have that backfield to himself, I mean, heck, he'd probably fall into the end zone, which is more than what you could ask for.
Yeah, of course. Sorry for not being 100% tuned in towards the end of that game for that situation. But on the Arizona side, back to the what the hell. Oh, no, wait. We got more good stuff to talk about with Detroit. Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are we just starting them as wide receiver 3 and 4, as in St. Brown's a wide receiver 3, Josh Reynolds is a wide receiver 4, and things aren't as bleak as they looked at the beginning of the season for Detroit?
Yeah, good for Detroit, man. These last couple of weeks have been pretty strong for them. I mean, no T.J. Hawkinson. You're missing 2 of their top running backs, and they just beat an Arizona team. And we should honestly have a conversation about Arizona, but from a real life standpoint, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a guy that you can roll out as wide receiver 3, definitely flex, full point PPR. He seems to be getting a lot of work, a lot of targets. And Reynolds, Goff has that relationship with him, so he's hooked up with him a couple times over the past couple weeks in the end zone. But I think, would you lean Amon-Ra St.? I would lean St. Brown. I think he's safer.
100%.
But I think there could be maybe a slightly higher ceiling. Like if I'm predicting touchdowns, and not a lot are going to come from this offense, it would be Reynolds. But Amon-Ra St. Brown has been really good for about a month and a half. Actually, even longer.
Atlanta this
week. He's had
week.
a couple dud games, but he's been pretty decent.
And Arizona gets to host, by the way, Saturday games again, everybody, at least as of now. We have Cleveland, Green Bay is at 4:30 as of now, and Indianapolis at Arizona is the night game. So Arizona at home. I was going to say Arizona at home against Indianapolis. We know what Indianapolis is going to do, and we can talk about Indianapolis here in a second. But on the Arizona side of things, there's no way you're benching Kyler Murray if you somehow survived, right?
No, and I didn't survive. I didn't survive. I don't think I'm going to win here tonight, but I wouldn't bench Kyler just because of his upside. He may have to do a whole lot more with his legs, Jake. He didn't yesterday, but yeah, I know he doesn't want to. Man, this is I get you probably had the same questions at The Athletic. I've been getting them too. We've been talking a lot about them on Mean Streets over the past couple weeks. Arizona, are they legit? Are they for real? I mean, a team that struggled at home. Nobody knows.
The NFL wants to be good.
They have in what 10 days they've fallen from the number 1 seed. They're now this morning the number 4. They'd have to play the Rams first round. I think the Colts probably go in and beat them. And now the road goes through Lambeau or Tampa. So tough go, I think, for Arizona, who
as of now
is the team that as of now. But I don't think that they're going to get that number 1 seed. Like they're going to have to go to Lambeau now, and that's not a team that has a lot of history of playing outdoor games.
Maybe.
Great.
Question mark, maybe. I mean, Green Bay's there's still 3 games left, and Green Bay's got Browns, Vikings, at Lions, which is no longer a cakewalk that we thought it might be. Lions are playing spoilers over here. Lions are saying, we don't care about that number 1 draft pick. Man, not that a lot of people, I guess if you're going defensive line, they should, which they should. They shouldn't, and they should. So, moving on from this, Chase Edmonds was back, but this is exactly what the split came right back down towards the middle. James Conner, Chase Edmonds are back to being what we expected them to be, correct? Nothing to really see here.
Yeah. I've been really impressed with Conner this year. He's been pretty good bounce back, right? He's been strong.
He's been great. So, speaking of nothing to see here, how about that Dallas offense? Another one that's like, what the hell is happening? Since Dak Prescott had his calf injury, I said that, his downfield passing has been limited, but there's been a lot of things going on with Dallas. It's been the fact that the calf, his injury, Cooper missing time with his COVID situation, CeeDee Lamb got banged up, Gallup came back, Zeke hasn't been 100%. Like, there's just been a lot of what is Dallas Cowboys week in and week out. Against the Giants, I've been saying this the entire year, Giants secondary, pretty damn good. Last week, not being the Cowboys, the week before, they gave up that play behind them. It's something that they don't normally do. They kind of get a little torch there. But in this game, again, it showed strong. But also at the same time, Dak also showed poorly. I asked this question to Jeff on Wednesday last week, Chris, and I said, would you bench Dak for, and I gave a couple options if you were in your playoffs. You have to be thinking long and hard more about potentially benching Dak at this point, don't you?
Yeah, you think so? I mean, look at the games, like 10 points, 11, 12, had the 25 against Las Vegas, but everyone seems to light them up. 4 points against the Chiefs in week 11. You're right. I mean, ever since that calf injury, he's got 6 picks in 7 games. He's only thrown more than 1 touchdown in 1 of his past 5 games, and he's been like 217, 211, 230, 216, and he's been chucking the ball 40 times, right? There's definitely a disconnect. A couple weeks ago, Jerry Jones kind of called out the wide receivers in Dallas. Dak is like his guy. He won't say anything bad about Dak Prescott, but he was calling out Amari. He was calling out CeeDee Lamb, saying the routes weren't complete. They weren't finishing their routes. Like, I thought it was an unnecessary shot at the wide receiver core in Dallas as opposed to Dak and the calf injury. Yeah, man, I to answer your question, I think so. I mean, Washington this week, we'll see what kind of, it's going to be a short week for them, obviously, playing tomorrow. We'll see what they have for defenders, if they can stay healthy and stay off the COVID list. But this is a pretty good sample in a row. They're getting more back by the
day. Allen came back over the weekend, either yesterday or Saturday, so they're getting more back.
The delay has helped some of these teams. Yeah.
There's still a chance that you might. It sounds like Kyle Allen or Heineke might be out there for tomorrow. One thing we do know is that Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum did not clear. That actually came through while we were doing this from Tom Pelissero. So, though he didn't say anything about Jarvis Landry, though. So that's just what I'm curious about, because he had a chance to potentially return too. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So Nick Mullins tonight. We also have the clarity on what's going on with a lot of these players. Have to stay tuned for that game. For that game tonight, Chris, Is there anybody that is like maybe I'm missing outside the obvious? Do we just kind of just roll with Jacobs, Renfro, Chubb, and hopefully you don't need anything else? I mean, I guess if you're desperate at tight end, you go to Njoku or Morneau, but I mean, I keep doing that. Foster Moreau. I was just Justin Morneau every single time I start to say his last name.
I know.
But is it just
I've done
those?
it before,
Is it
too.
just those three?
I think so. What about Donovan Peoples-Jones? Would you go Peoples-Jones if there's no Landry?
I don't like Peoples-Jones as the number one. That's the thing. And the Raiders secondary is better than people give it credit for.
But who's going to catch passes there? Like Njoku, I guess?
Okay, we've had that. Remember when who's going to catch passes for the Titans? Remember how that worked out with Westbrook Akina and Des Fitzpatrick? Or what? Like the answer was nobody.
No one. Yeah, the answer is
exactly.
no one. And the answer will probably be nobody as well. I mean, they're going to run the football with Chubb and maybe even a little bit of Dearness Johnson. But I don't know if Vegas can push the pace. I don't think that they can. But if Vegas can get to, I don't know, if they can score a couple touchdowns, then maybe they have to throw the ball. I mean, 7 targets in his last game. I mean, that's 7 targets, 90 yards. It's definitely a boomer bust.
I just don't know anybody
more bust than
waited.
boom.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I don't know anybody who was waiting for Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I will say this as another
Maybe
sidebar.
just a desperate Landry owner, maybe.
Yes.
That's it.
In case we ran into it. Oh, here. Actually, you know what? I'll give you a good example. Is we have Seattle Rams tomorrow and Washington Philly tomorrow. Here's the question I'll give you, and this is why I know my answer already. But if you had Moreau in this game, or you could wait for Goddard, do you play Moreau knowing you're going to get a player, or do you wait on Goddard and risk a potential 0 like Higbee last week?
Yeah, I personally would risk and roll out Goddard, but I mean that's all about what kind of risk you guys want to take. I mean, if you're 4 points back, I mean you probably just take Foster and you get it done here tonight.
And
but
that's
if you're
what I
double
kept saying
digit,
this
you want to
entire
shoot for the
weekend.
upside.
Well, see, and I think now that we have box scores out there, as you just said, by the way, I love the Grinch mug. But the fact that we have it and we can say, if you're close, play the player. If you're down by a lot, why not just wait and go for the upside? But let's say we run into this for week 16, and there'll be a lot of time to talk about it. I kept saying that, Chris, over and over and over again. It's like, if it's close, and I said basically about 5 to 8 quarterbacks, 5 to 10 tight ends, and then like 10 to 15 wide receivers or running backs. If they're that close, I'm playing the guy who I know is playing. Just yesterday morning, Sunday, we had 3 more players pop up, and fortunately they weren't fantasy relevant players. But I just don't want to wait till Tuesday and be like, oh, by the way, Devontae Smith, now he has COVID, and now I don't have a wide receiver. And that's what it comes down to.
It's good advice. It's smart advice. I think you just try to set yourself up if you can. I know a lot of people play in leagues where even if your bench guys already played, you can't drop them. But if you can, like getting a DeAndre Carter or something like that in case McLaurin can't go tomorrow, or heck, you're right. What if Smith pops up on the COVID list tomorrow morning? Like, and then I don't know who you got rolled there. Jalen Reagor. You mean you got to do what you got to do, right? But this is the world we're living in, Jake. This was the most challenging week for me to cover sports of all time. Not even just in the NFL, but the NHL guys were popping up as puck was dropping. The NBA is rolling out. There was one game where I think there was like 7 guys on each side in the association. The NHL has canceled like 25 games this week. It is crazy. You have to try to set yourself up. Take this for sure points if you can. To your point, right? I mean, you don't want to be left with a 0 and miss out on the semis because you wanted to roll out Dallas Goedert as opposed to Foster Moreau. But I mean, hopefully he can get you what you need, because I don't know. I mean, there's no linebackers in Cleveland, so he should have some decent matchups.
Well, as of now, I mean, there might be guys. Yeah. Remember,
there's a couple guys.
And I was about to say the NHL, the NFL revised their rules too. So if you're asymptomatic and you have the vaccine, which is 90% of the NFL now, you're not even going to be tested from day to day, and so they kind of like, and you can come back quicker now too. So on top of it is the NFL has pretty much said like, all right, we're a little tired of this. If you're good, you're good. If you're Aaron Rodgers, you have a different situation. So like that might be. Did you feel vindicated for your Kelsey trades? No, I don't. Actually, thank you, Mr. Nice Guy. By the way, I was talking about the fact that I apologize to everybody because I traded for Kelsey and DK Metcalf the week that the Chiefs had a bye, thinking both would be great buys. So DK hasn't bounced back, by the way, but Kelsey got me 3 points and 3 points and then finally blew up. Sidebar, nobody cares about my team, but I'm just saying, like, even I go through your pain. I tweeted this. I understand everybody's pain out there. I had Kelsey and Taylor to start, Chris. I was up 61-0 heading to yesterday with Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Cordero Patterson playing wide receiver, and the 49ers defense. I am up now 101 to 90-something with only Justin Fields left, and he has 2 players left. I scored 40 points with 6 more guys. 40 points.
Unbelievable. I'm kind of in the same situation, dude. I have one league with Kelsey and Hill, and they got me like 75 points, and I don't think I've cracked 100. Because
we're gonna lose with Kelsey and
one of those weeks.
That's just
like, how could you lose when you have
yes.
Kelsey and Tyreek Hill on your team, right? How
Kelsey
could you
Jonathan
possibly
Taylor?
lose?
Yeah.
Just because my opponent plays Duke Johnson, or you know what I mean? Like,
let's talk about that. That's the next
Good
game.
for you.
Yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Jets and the Dolphins, and let's talk about the Duke of fantasy. The Duke of the Duke. Let's just, you know what? I was gonna say the Carter's comeback. We'll save that for a second. Duke Johnson goes bananas. Gaskin comes back. Everybody out there, Gaskin's gonna go right back to being the lead. He's the one we can trust, mostly because they were making other running backs inactive. It was what Ahmed, Duke, and they didn't even bring back, what was the other one? I'm trying to think. It was Philip Lindsay.
Brown
Philip
was
Lindsay was out.
Oh, Philip
Malcolm
Lindsay was out.
Yeah,
Brown.
Malcolm Brown was inactive, so there was only 3. Gaskin got 50, but Duke Johnson, the one that went ballistic, got all of the running. I mean, he got the majority of the game. Gaskin actually didn't even get until late for his big run. So Duke Johnson, 1 game. Is this, hey, Gaskin was still feeling the effects of COVID, as some of the reports said, and this is the first game back, and you're not putting too much into this because we've done this before? Or is this the Dolphins, what the Dolphins have done for the past 2 years now, Chris? We did this last year, for everybody that doesn't remember, when we tried to chase this Dolphins backfield, just don't start anybody next week unless you absolutely have to. And if you have to, who is your answer?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you have to, who is it? Like, who is going to be the guy to catch balls out of the backfield? Because they got the Saints, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Duke only had the 1 target, 1 grab. Gaskin has shown us before that he could have games with 5 or 6 catches. I think it was, Duke had just run with the first team offense all week in practice. Gaskin wasn't there. You brought up the COVID. He was activated late. Was it early? Maybe, I don't even know. It was into the weekend at some point, but Saturday. He probably wasn't 100%. So maybe they're just rolling with Duke, and Duke looked really good, man. Got to give him some props. I'm not the biggest believer in him, but he looked like just a back that was running people over, and he's not that type of back. But man, his second touchdown, I think, he looked really strong. Guys were hanging off him, and he found a way to get in the end zone. I think they just rode the hot hand. Why not? He was really good. And you're right, Gaskin. I was hesitant to take his over. 52.5 was his rushing prop, and I was like, against the Jets, he's going to do that. And he only did it at the end. At the very end, he had, I think, like a 20-yard run to get to 54.
You were doing the Kramer on Seinfeld.
Oh,
you were like pulling your hair out and so ticked off at the end.
Giddy up. Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you saw, I threw up my hands. Breaking news: Chris Godwin done for the year.
Oh my goodness, done for the year?
Yep.
Wow. That changes things for
regular season. So there's
is
hope
it like
for
a
playoffs.
Hopkins? There's hope for the playoffs. Hopkins isn't going to come back in the playoffs.
MCL injury. So yeah, this is breaking under NFL.
Yeah,
it's
that
hard.
sucks. I love Godwin too. I just think he's a terrific player. He's in line for a pretty decent contract too next year, right? This is just who knows.
No matter where he goes. He's
where it goes.
He'll be the top wide receiver next year.
That's a big blow for Brady. Mike Evans is great, but man, when he's up against a top corner, something gets in Evans' head. I don't know if it's frustration. I know Lattimore's had his way with him for years, but
he's never been a great separator. That's the thing. He can just man. If you actually look at his career, he's only like what, a 55% catch percentage. Like that's because he's a lot of contested catches. So Michael Carter returns, and I wish I went lower. I just you know what, the upside, my love, and that probably maybe played a little bit into my factors. I know what Carter can do on a per touch basis, but that backfield, I kept saying my hesitancy was the split. Tevin Coleman is healthy. The split. It was the split, but it was also the first game back for Michael Carter. Do you feel better about next week? Yeah, it stinks, but the Jets against Jacksonville, you roll him out as an RB2? Or is this potentially Let's be honest. Like, Chris, let's take our fandom and our love for Michael Carter talent out of this. Let's just take this away, evaluate the fact that Coleman has looked good, and say, is this anything different than the Carolina backfield?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, you're right. We both love Carter. We like the direction. He should be the lead. I mean, he played more snaps, he ran more routes, but he didn't get more touches. And that's really all that really matters. And the upside is not high with the Jets. So yeah, it does seem like it's kind of, I wouldn't roll him out. I'd be, even in that good matchup, I'd be a little hesitant to roll him out, but good player, man. I think next year we'll be looking at him differently.
Notice I skipped right past the Giants and the Frominator. I was, just like...
I saw that. Yeah, skip. And what's there to say?
The offense looked 1,000 times better with Fromm. I mean, it didn't end in the score, but, I mean, they actually got all the way down the field. Which, by the way, I love some red zone. I love some Andrew Siciliano, but you guys couldn't even get a picture of Fromm from college? Like, did you notice when they put the graphics up? They just had the Giants logo. It was like, seriously, guys? Like, seriously?
The
you couldn't find a
disrespect,
picture
the shade.
Come on. And he's got some sweet facial hair. Respect to somebody just like you. So here's a question for you, Chris. I'm going to spin this a specific way for you. Is the fun of Daryl Patterson done?
Is it over? Is it finally
over? Is it over?
Anytime that I think it's over, it's back on again. So I don't know,
it's been
man.
Semi-over the past couple weeks. It's been he's been splitting this backfield down. He's not even running routes. Mike Davis is getting a lot of involvement. They brought in Allison at the goal line. They're splitting him out wide and making him actually run receiver routes when they do go, and then they don't even throw to him because apparently Matt Ryan knows Russell Gage. Occasionally he'll go to Pitts between the 20s, but as soon as you get to the 20s, I guess Kyle Pitts doesn't exist. So what are we doing here? I think it's can you really start Cordell Patterson next week?
Detroit, yeah, maybe. Flex. I don't know. People are ranking him as like a top 10 running back. I'm not there. I get it. He has been, I guess, week in and week out, he's been a top 10 running back more times than not. If you can play him as an RB in Yahoo or whatever. But you're right. I mean, he's only getting. I mean, he did lead the backfield in snaps and targets and carries and routes, but he's not really doing a whole lot. I mean, 11 for 18. Like this Atlanta team. The offensive line stinks. It's just you hope that he catches some balls out of the backfield. But if he's not doing that, Jake, then where's his upside, right? Where's the ceiling here for?
And they don't even. He's a straight line runner. They don't even use him the right. Like, did you see the sweep toss that they gave him?
Yeah, I did see that. He's
a 6-something upright running converted wide receiver, and they run a sweep at the goal. Like, a toss. And just God, what are you doing, dudes? Like, that team. On the flip side. There's really not much to talk about for San Francisco. Everything's great gravy. Just give Debo running back eligibility. I've been saying that since my birthday.
He deserves it.
5 straight games, 6 rushing touchdowns. 5 straight games with a rushing touchdown, 6 rushing touchdowns in those 5 games. I jokingly said it on November 28th. I only know because it was the day before my birthday that Sunday where I said, give Debo RB eligibility, you cowards, as a joke because of from last year with the whole situation with Taysom Hill and everything like that, and been joking about it. But now at this point, like, just play him at running back, like if you could.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't have it. Like, why, honestly? He's got 5 rushing touchdowns in the season.
Oh, because all the leagues said they won't change the middle of the year now. But they have...
Actually, so 7.
Jokes aside, I know
7 rushing touchdowns.
I know, but 6 in the last 5 games sounds a lot more impressive. That's really what it comes down to. So
it does, yeah.
They play Thursday night. They play Tennessee. You know you throw on Tennessee, and they have a good run defense. That's why you throw on Tennessee. That being said, Chris, if Elijah Mitchell is back, this thing gets really cloudy because Jeff Wilson hadn't been used like Elijah Mitchell before this. And now Jeff Wilson finally got the Elijah Mitchell role. He got that 90%. And then Debo stole the touchdown, but Jeff Wilson got one of his own. So let's play in a world where Elijah Mitchell's back. What do you do? I mean, you're starting Debo. Probably get some of his targets back. But what are we doing with Mitchell and Wilson if Mitchell's back?
I think it just goes back to Mitchell, right? I mean, as good as Wilson looked yesterday, right, getting all those carries and all the work, I think it just goes right back to the guy who's better and the guy that Shanahan's been rolling when he's healthy. He just gets. I mean, he had back-to-back weeks there with 27 carries, And you're right. You throw on Tennessee. I don't know if that changes Shanahan's mind. I mean, just the way that they run some of these runs and guys are out there blocking, creates so many holes. Like Debo's fantastic, but the scheme that they run with him, I mean, it's unstoppable, man. It's so impressive.
No, because you know what the scheme is. It's what I've said for years. It's the Shanahan backfield. Go back to his dad. Go back to the.
Oh yeah.
Look at. Does everybody remember Orlandis Gary? From the how about
wow.
Yeah, Ronnie Hillman. Like
Ronnie
look
Hillman,
at the running backs that led Denver some of those years. Hell, look at the running backs that have led Shanahan's teams for years. That the Kyle Shanahan teams, the 49ers let alone. I mean, of course, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman that one year, but Tevin Coleman's never been that since he left. And like
Alfred Morris's big rookie season was phenomenal.
There you go. Like
right?
they just and we need that gift. It's magic. They're just like they just know what to do. Let's say we got a couple quick hitters here, and that's why I was kind of saving them for later. On Tennessee, down to Foreman if he's fine, and that's the end of that offense, right? Now that Julio Jones is hurt again. Which, by the way, kudos to Deonta Foreman for coming back after that. I thought he was done. I thought he was going to be potentially done for the year.
I was afraid that he tore his Achilles, right? Because a few years ago he had that injury. I thought maybe it was that when Watt landed on him. I was like, oh no, man, he looks impressive. Good for him. Yeah, he's been good over these past couple weeks. A lot of carries. Titans want to run the ball. Yeah, roll him out.
You know what wasn't impressive? The Pittsburgh offense. On the flip side, a lot of people, including myself, might be losing from what has just happened with Najee Harris and possibly looking at, hey, I'm looking at the outside looking in. But Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Do we just, hey, Najee Harris? I mean, you can't sit Najee Harris if he's somebody, but Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. I think you could sit Chase Claypool because the snaps aren't there either. That toe is definitely lingering. And if, yes, Claypool saved you 2 weeks ago, well, a week ago, 2 games ago. But yeah, I think at this point you can really consider benching Claypool.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Ray had more snaps than him, right? Ran more routes. Yeah,
that's actually like the second or third game in a row.
Yeah, he's dealing with something in Big Ben. Man, Steelers still hanging around. That was a big W for them yesterday. They're still hanging around, but maybe more pass attempts.
Anyway, next game. Double Bebe game for me, by the way. Brandon Cooks and James Robinson.
Oh, baby,
my Bebe game. If only the Steelers played Houston, I could get some Deontay and Brandon Cook. Bay Cook, I don't know. Anyway, Bay Leaf cooking, whatever the hell. Brandon Cooks, another good game. James Robinson, that's the one I really want to talk about. Is this as simple as James Robinson gets the workload back now that Urban is the hell out of there? Or Carlos Hyde wasn't active. They were down to basically Dare Ngubawale, that is how you say his name, behind him.
Very nice.
Jacksonville, Jacksonville this week. Not a bad matchup. So James Robinson, RB1, right back to it, or are you a little bit of concern?
I don't have any concerns. Well, my only concern is that the offensive line sucks and the offense still stinks, right? That's my only concern. But against the Jets, you're going to give him 18 carries against the Jets. And I think he is going to get 18 carries, even if Carlos Hyde plays or not. They said it. They said it this week. It's time to give Robinson the full workload that he deserves. It's the most carries the guy has had since week 5. My God. Urban Meyer. I just Urban Meyer is just really just out to lunch, that guy, the way he's run that team.
So next game, Cincinnati to Denver. Prayers up. Thankfully, Teddy Bridgewater is moving. We heard right after, actually, he got to the hospital, so that's huge. Locke is at quarterback. There'll be time to talk about on the waivers show and the rankings show about that. Joe Mixon. It looks like he might be hurt, might not be hurt. We've done this before with Joe Mixon. He's definitely gimpy on that knee. Again, waiver show, we'll cover that because there's not much to glean from that game outside of respect the Denver perimeter corners. But who do they get this week? Las Vegas. Hunter Renfrow, just like Tyler Boyd, is going to go bananas. And so enjoy that. Green Bay, Baltimore, Aaron Jones. Was that enough confidence that you saw that the split leaned more again back into his lean, or do you think that was partly because of the Baltimore matchup? Green Bay, as we've talked about, Cleveland at home on Saturday this week. Aaron Jones back in front of A.J. Dillon? Question mark?
I think so, but just slightly. Just a little bit, man. A.J. Dillon's good enough to – he deserves at least 10 to 12 touches, the way that the Packers run their offense. So I think it's a 60-40. But, I mean, if you're deciding between the two, you go Jones. But I think A.J. could be started as a flex.
Okay, is Devonta Freeman done being fun? Another one?
Might be, I guess. I mean,
no,
it was a
your
nice
question,
run.
You should have volleyed that question back to me and said, "Was he ever that fun?" That's really what it should have been.
The only fun I had with Freeman was over 2.5 grabs at plus money. I couldn't even find that yesterday because I guess they were waiting on Lamar and if Huntley was going to be the quarterback. And good on Huntley, man. That was impressive to come back in that game. But again, going for it at the end. I mean, they made the excuse. They went for it at the end, and Steelers says they had no secondary, they had no defensive backs. I didn't love the play call. To be honest, to go for 2. I know everybody in the stadium knew that ball was going to Mark Andrews, so I didn't love the play call.
Oh, my God. 1 billion times. It sounds like Lamar Jackson should be back, and that's why I'm not spending too much time on Huntley, although it was a hell of a lot of fun. If you played Huntley, it was a Billy Volek type of situation. If that's like, hey, God, I still remember the Volek that Drew Bennett, Billy Volek winning leagues that year. Actually, I had a Billy Volek team that year. I still remember that to this day.
Yeah. Nice.
I think that was one of my first years playing because I'm not that much older than you. Were you old enough for Billy Volek, or were you in fantasy at that point?
Okay. Yes. I never had him though. No.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's like I'm slightly older than you, so I don't know. That's like a compliment. I wasn't trying to be like, you know nothing. You haven't been longer. You don't deserve a Hall of Fame vote. You're too young, Chris. Real quick, let's go back to games before this weekend, and there's 2 quick things I want to talk about on the Chargers side. This is going to be maybe a weird question, but Austin Eckler was fine. But we're going to talk waivers again tomorrow. Is Justin Jackson shown enough for you the past 2 weeks that this has been a cluster? I've joked about it before. We played this game last year, but it looks like Jackson might be the next man up if something happens to Eckler again.
Yeah, I think so, especially after Joshua Kelly fumbled that ball on the 1-2. So I think that it would be Jackson. Yeah. Handcuff him.
Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire even an RB2 at this point? He's basically touchdown reliant.
Yeah. Do you remember when he was drafted? Like the entire fantasy community was like, "This is the best thing that anybody's ever seen. He's the next Brian Westbrook."
In the middle. For everybody that doesn't remember last year, he was going in the middle of the first round. He
was the clear-cut 101 in Dynasty.
Yeah.
And there was moments where we were like, oh no, that's Cam Akers, and now looking back, it's definitely Jonathan Taylor. But I don't think so, man. I don't think he is. What'd you say, an RB2? He's definitely not an RB1. I think he's just a flex. I know Daryl Williams. I thought Daryl Williams would be a little bit more involved last week. I thought maybe some targets. He didn't catch a pass. He had like 3 catches in 9 games this season. That Chiefs offense is still I know that Hill and Kelsey had monster games, but there's still a disconnect there with that offense, and I think it starts with, the run game. Okay,
so good news. Mike Evans, nothing serious. So there's one good news.
Well, that's good.
Before we get out of here, Stevenson let down. That was supremely disappointing, but nobody really expected the Patriots to be playing from behind in the passing version of Brandon Bolden, like right out of the gate. That happened really fast. Game script, these kind of things happen, unfortunately. Jonathan Taylor, as you mentioned, potential MVP. So before we get out of here, Chris, real quick, we have Minnesota-Chicago tonight, and we know who to play in this game. There's a chance Adam Thielen might play, try to return. Boom or bust, 100,000%. You can risk it if you need to. Risk it for the biscuit, as everybody said. But I threw out a bunch of lines. We don't do these a lot, but is there a line in tonight's game? We got Fields 208, Cousins 259, some rushing, some receiving props, some receiving totals. Anything in here that you're looking at for tonight's game that you think is intriguing? Because a lot of them I looked at, I was like, ooh, these are a lot of tough calls, Vegas. Thank you. Vegas being Vegas tonight.
I know. I really haven't looked at a ton of lines. I mean, Justin Fields at plus 200 for 2 passing touchdowns is kind of interesting to me. I know that's not something he's done quite a bit, but that's something that I think I can get on board. Like, what's his rushing yard? 36.5? Like, I can get on board with that too. Like, I think he's a guy that could run, 40 rushing yards. I think he can get to.
I kind of like the Mooney 3.5 and 50.5.
I love the Mooney 50.5. Yeah, definitely love the yards more than the catches. 3.5, I think he could do. But just the way that they use him in the big play and the big arm that he has and the ADOT, I think he could definitely get to that 50 on just one grab. We've seen that multiple times. Yeah, he's a favorite of mine when I like to take his receiving yards. But where's the offense coming from in Chicago? Right? If Minnesota can push the pace, it goes to Mooney.
Darnold and Mooney. Yeah,
exactly.
So hopefully Chris is a favorite of yours. Follow him at Chris Meaney, FTN, code ALLIN, still get you 20% off, theathletic.com, all capitals, BetsTV, get you a first free month, and you can get into the new year. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk waivers. I don't even think we get a full show, Chris, but we did somehow. Week 15 is insane. Waivers tomorrow will be insane. Hopefully you guys are not insane and watch.